Radical.
All right, so this week I've had a bit of a hiatus from the channel. Been gone for about 4 or 5 days, I believe, something like that. I think the last upload I had was the commentary on Tesla, but looking to get back into swing of things. Been very busy with a lot of things around the house, and also been very busy strategizing things for the store this weekend. I want to start out by talking about something I wasn't even really going to discuss, but, the more I think about it, it's a pretty interesting thought experiment. And there's a lot of people that's talked about this, but I want to give my take after I talk about Scott Steiner's take on the whole thing, which is, of course, the thought experiment, 100 men versus a silverback gorilla. Now, Scott Steiner, who you might know as Big Papa Pump, the freak, holler if you hear me. You know the guy. If you don't know the guy, he was a really entertaining wrestler, really buff wrestler, like overly buff. I think the guy did a good little bit of roids, but he was a genetic freak. The guy had an amazing physique. Also a pretty good wrestler. Now he weighed in on this whole 100 men versus a gorilla, and he said, which is really actually brilliant, he said, let's say you got 100 average men. No weapons, no training. Just fear in their eyes and dad bods in their way. Then you got one full-grown silverback gorilla. 600 pounds of pure rage, muscle, and tree-ripping power. Out of those 100 men, maybe 25% don't even show up once they see the gorilla. That's 25 cowards eliminated immediately. Then you got 33, one-third of them trying to take it out. They're done. Another 20% just stand there frozen, pissing their pants. Now you're left with about 21 guys panicked, half-committed, and getting launched like lawn darts. But what if Big Papa Pump's in the mix? You just tipped the freaking scale. It's one gorilla versus the genetic freak, and that spells disaster for the gorilla. Would Big Papa Pump beat a gorilla? I don't know. I don't believe so. A 600-pound gorilla that's capable of lifting thousands of pounds? No, I mean, I'd like to see him past all the hubbub and all the boistering and everything. I'd like to see Big Papa Pump actually in a ring with a gorilla. No, they're incredibly strong. 600 pounds. And you would think, well, since they're so strong, there's no way 100 regular men, regular guys, are going to stand up to such a power. But it comes down to the power of numbers, really. And the math of Scott Steiner might be close to accurate outside of him beating the gorilla. Because you have a lot of people that are out of shape, that are maybe going to see the gorilla instantly. 25% are just going to go running. And then you're going to have the 75%. A small percentage of those are actually going to stand up and try to go after the gorilla. Maybe the bigger guys are. And if that happens to where the gorilla starts ripping them apart, or just knocking them out or strangling them or snapping their necks, then that's going to mentally get to the rest of the people. So you could have a situation to where if they don't do it perfectly right and plan it, a silverback gorilla will beat 100 men. But if they do it right, which is to actually form a circle around their gorilla, strategize, and maybe, come in and go, maybe like a couple kicks, a couple punches here and there, and they could possibly get away with no one dying. I don't think they're going to have they're going to have injuries. You might have a limb tore off here or there, but maybe if they strategize, definitely going to have some broken bones. You have them circle the gorilla, because I've thought about this. I can't not think about it after I've seen everyone give their thoughts, or a couple people, maybe like 2 or 3 people. And I would say the strategy you want to use, because you have no weapons, all you have is your legs and your fist. Well, kicks are going to give you a little bit more range, but the downside is you might get knocked off your feet. You have circles and circles that go closer. You have the biggest, strongest guys that could probably, tank the most damage or blows from the gorilla, go inside first. You're going to have to do it like that. Because if you put like the Leonards from Big Bang Theory, because I'm assuming it's just 100 random men, then that's not going to be any help to you. You want to have maybe a couple men, 3 or 4 of the biggest men instantly go down on the bottom, grab the legs, right? Just grab the legs, and the gorilla's probably going to start like punching and pounding on those guys. There's nothing that can be avoided unless maybe the guys go upside down. That way, if, they would avoid the head being pounced, beat upon. And remember, there's no weapons, no armor, no nothing like that. So you have 3 or 4 men, maybe upside down, grab the gorilla's legs, put some weight around it, because he's going to try to lift one leg up and fling it. And then from the very back, you have you think about wrestling maneuvers. You have multiple drop kicks from the guys with the strongest legs, because you want to avoid the front of the gorilla. See, first step, have those biggest, strongest guys that are going to have to tank the most damage. They're going to suffer some clubbing blows by the gorilla. Take the legs down first. And then you have people from the rear side, rows of 5. I'm talking about rows and rows of drop kicks. You can tell I put a lot of thought into this. Maybe 2 or 3 people at a time from each side. Drop kicks, constant drop kicks. And then the key is to get the gorilla down. Once you get the gorilla down, people are around the legs, you get it knocked over, then you can have basically everybody just swarming the gorilla. And human arms are not as strong and as big as a gorilla's. But once the gorilla is off its feet, it's just a question of how many people it's going to take. Now, that plan could work. But you can't have a lot of people scared or chicken shit. Because there's the chicken shit factor here. And I can't tell you, I wouldn't be one of the chicken shit people. I can't tell you that. I mean, I'm a pretty strong fella. I could hold my own in a fight versus a human male. When it comes to a silverback gorilla, I mean, I'm not lying. I might get shook. I might be one of the terrible people there. I might be like, you guys got the first row. You got the first wave. I'll come in towards the end, I'll be the one that comes in and probably helps hold it down. And when everyone's, I wonder, since you don't have any weapons, you don't have anything to tie the arms behind the gorilla? Is it a battle to the death? Then that's kind of brutal. I mean, you would probably have to try to attack the head and disable or at least knock out the gorilla. You would have to. Or even try to kill the gorilla. Because once that thing gets back up, it's going to know what you're doing. Now, if you've ever seen gorillas and they're trying to fight other gorillas, they don't have a whole lot of strategy. They're strong, but they're flailing their arms around. The big positive that men have is they can strategize and they can plan. And they're more intelligent. Of course, if you have one man like a Batman, if you have a Batman, then he could plan it out. He could figure out a way. But even a Batman without his utility belt and all kind of shit like that, he would probably succumb to the gorilla. And I know a lot of Batman fans would say, no, if he had enough planning, if Batman has enough planning, he can beat a gorilla easy. No, I don't think that, But that's just my thought on it. I feel like I'm right on it. But what do you think? Feel free to give me any of your theories about what would happen. Because at first it sounds silly. Well, of course 100 men would beat a gorilla, but it just depends on the situations. Depends on what kind of men you got there.